Let's talk now about installing a specific anchor, which I think you're going to find very helpful if you happen to be in education like myself. And that is installing the anchor that learning is fun. And you can actually install any anchor you choose. It doesn't have to be learning is fun. It can be learning is exciting, or it can be anything is anything else. Okay, you can set anything as being equal to anything else. In therapeutic sessions, when I work with clients, it's very helpful for me to install an anchor that's something along the lines of smoking is not very fun at all. Of course, we don't use negative wording, but the idea is that smoking is going to be equivalent to all sorts of terrible things, so they're no longer going to want to smoke. Also, when working with weight loss clients, it's important to get them to associate cake and ice cream and other things such as that with not being very good for them. So I can set up an association between the ice cream or cake or what have you and something that's very unpleasant. So this can be used for any number of things. I want you to realize that. But let's take a look at how it's done. First of all, in this example, we're anchoring the idea that learning is fun. Well, first of all, what we want to do is, and this is a human's arm, my rendering of a human arm. So imagine that we have just an arm, and I'm going to be touching two parts of the arm. I'm going to be touching the upper part and a little lower. It doesn't really matter which part of the arm you touch. It doesn't matter if you actually touch way up here for one part and touch the hand for the other. The idea is that we're using two different parts of the arm in this demonstration and in this technique when you practice it on others and when you use it on patients. Okay, so in the first instance, what we're doing is installing an anchor for curiosity. In the upper part of the arm, we're installing an anchor for curiosity in learning in this case. So all you have to do is have them close their eyes and imagine a time when they felt very curious about learning, curious in a good way, curious in a very positive and resourceful way. In other words, they were learning something and it was so wonderful and so fascinating to them that they were curious about it, they were excited about it, they wanted to learn more about it. So have them get into a peak state thinking about that. Now as we look at the diagram on the left here, we see that the state that someone will be in has a rise and has a fall. So we want to get them between the rise, as I said earlier, the rise on their way up to that peak state and the area of the actual peak state. So the peak is at the very top, of course, and we want to anchor them somewhere between there. If you can anchor them right at the top, that's fine. But the idea is that you're not waiting until after it's already over, because many times I've noticed in schools of NLP and in schools of hypnotherapy, there's almost an obsession with the idea of finding out when someone is in a peak state and looking at the lips and the sometimes people can look at the neck and see how quickly the heart is beating. You can see the pulse by the arteries on the neck or in the head. There's an interest in looking at the color of the skin, all of this in an effort to determine when the person is at a peak state, or in hypnosis when the person is in a deeply relaxed state, and ascertaining from that the level of peak state or the level of deepness of the hypnotic state. I want to tell you that if you go down that route, what you're going to find is that by the time you determine, aha, wait a minute, they are in a peak state. At least in NLP, we're looking at peak states. If you find out that they are in a peak state, by the time you have made the determination, they could very well no longer be in a peak state. So you could have, in essence, worked against the client receiving the help that they want by overly emphasizing this concept of physiological signs determining the peak state. You can tell when someone's in a peak state. If you're talking to someone about learning and curiosity and something exciting like that, they're going to be in a peak state when they are obviously in a peak state. But to make it clearer and easier and to avoid this over focus on physiological responses. Just have them nod. So you have your client with their eyes closed, and you're asking them to think of a time when they felt very curious about learning, very excited about learning. Learning was fun. They're getting into it. Okay, they're feeling it. Okay, now it's at a peak state and they're nodding their head. Now, when they're nodding their head, what you're going to do is touch with your hand. You've already asked them ahead of time if it's all right for you to touch them in 2 places on their arm. They said yes. You're going to touch them on their upper arm and anchor that. You're just touching them for a moment while they're in that peak state. Then you're letting go of that touch, and you want to stack this anchor, which means that you want to have them think of another time when they were very curious about learning. Learning was fun. Learning was exciting and new and so forth. And once they're in that peak state, they're going to signal that to you by nodding their head. Okay? And when they do that, you're going to anchor them by just touching them there. And then you're going to release that touch. And then you're going to break that state by having them open their eyes. They're going to open their eyes after that. And that's going to release their focus on that. Next, you need to install an anchor for fun. Okay, the idea is that learning is fun. So we've already anchored the curiosity in learning and how exciting it is to learn and so forth. Okay, all right. Now we're going to take the idea of fun. Now, interestingly enough, you can go a little lighter on the curiosity and learning part of it, because after all, our goal here is to anchor it to fun. So when we talk about curiosity in learning and so forth, we don't necessarily have to make it fun at that point, because fun's going to come later. We're going to anchor fun. We're actually going to combine these two anchors and make them one. So when we're talking about curiosity and learning, you can keep it fairly light. It doesn't have to be fun necessarily, or even exciting. It can just be the curiosity of learning all by itself, okay? Because we're going to bring in fun. But when we do bring in fun, we want to make it a powerful fun. What's really fun for them? Because maybe learning's pretty fun for them. For me, it's fun, but it's not as fun as riding on a jet ski. It's not as fun as parasailing. It's not as fun as flying to Europe. It's not as fun as going through the Louvre, even though that's kind of learning, but for me it's really part of vacation and having a good time. So there's a difference between the curiosity in learning and fun, especially for someone who is having a challenge with learning, because they don't find it to be fun at all. I find learning to be fun, just not the same kind of fun and not really as exciting as the things that I do of a physical nature. So if I wanted to increase my level of fun in learning, all I'd have to do is follow this procedure. I find that I'm dedicated enough to learning, and it's fun enough for me. But if I wanted to increase that, I could combine them. So moving on, we're now installing an anchor for fun. And so you find out what's fun for them. What's fun and exciting for them? And then you want to install that. Okay, so we've got curiosity in learning, and then we've got fun. Okay, so we're having them think of something that's fun for them, and then we're installing the anchor at that point. When it's at the peak state or on the rise to that, how do we know? We know that because they are nodding their head when they feel that they are in the peak state. That's good enough. When they feel they're in the peak state, that should mean that they're in it or really close to it. Okay, then we're having them think of another time when they had fun, and we're anchoring that as well. Okay, then we want them to open their eyes, break that state. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to combine the two. All right, we're going to combine the two by touching both parts of the arm at the same time and talking about the idea of learning being fun. Okay, so we're combining the two. All right, so it's as simple as that, to install an anchor and to combine anchors to make it more powerful for them.